But we do see Cyrus's opening hand. On your side of the stream, Tech, are they lined up relatively close?
Close enough.
Okay, because on my side, kind of like the way the tubes work, I'm seeing Cyrus's hand, and I haven't seen much from. Okay, I paused and unpaused, and it seems to be okay. So opening hands from both players, shards available, thresholds usually going to be met with both of these. Cyrus winning the coin flip, going first. Sapphire, not a sapphire, a diamond shard being played here in case he draws an angel, which he already has one in hand. And on the other side of the table, we see the Howling Brave being played by Kindmime. Both players' hands available for you guys. This is actually a really cool way for this to play out. Even with the low stakes match, Cyrus will want to win this. I'm sure if he's anything like me, he'll want to win this, even though the match has been predetermined, just to say I would have won it anyway. Obviously, that's a situation that comes up sometimes in trading card game tournaments, so...
Always got to play for pride.
Always got to play for pride. Cyrus getting his Soul Marble out onto the board. Soul Marble not really that big of a threat, I would say, to Kindmime, but Kindmime kept a rather slow hand, kind of, because those Arborean Root Fathers can be tossed back for 2 resources and allow you to draw a card. Cyrus finding another shard, hitting a Solitary Exile, which is actually one of his better cards in this matchup, allowing him to deal with things like the Arborean Root Fathers and the Wrathwood Colossus. What's your favorite wild troop, JJ?
My favorite wild troop is probably Arborean Rootfather at this point. The ability to just go kill somebody out of nowhere is, I mean, it's a lot of damage that he can pump out. I like him a lot.
What about you, Paul?
You know the answer to that.
Munario Sensei. Okay, what's your favorite big wild troop?
Big wild troop. What's classed as big? Like big effect-wise or big just big?
Yeah, just like disgustingly big board state-wise. Like your opponent isn't happy to see it because now the board state is in your favor. Like we see this Wrathwood Mastermoss getting put into the box. I would consider Wrathwood Mastermoss a big troop, wouldn't you, JJ?
Yeah, I would consider that a big troop.
I think I like my Spell Shield Beetles, man.
That's one that falls behind in people's mind a lot. That beetle, I remember when it was originally revealed, I was like, "This is the best card ever," and then they were like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool, but the rest of set one's wild, isn't?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
See, I still like Beetle. Like it's still.
I
nice
still
card.
love Beetle. Yeah,
but
it's just fights for its slot against other very powerful stuff.
I think it definitely becomes better with Fazuko being out there now, because you get that extra damage in on that flight as well. But I think it's just so hard to deal with. Like, for example, how does Cyrus's deck deal with a beetle that comes there right now? Because it's going to be bigger than...
If it has Spell Shield, he doesn't.
Exactly.
The only thing
it's really hard to deal with. It's just that it comes a little bit later than some of the stuff we got in set 2. That's the only problem with it.
Yeah, the real big problem with Beetle, in my opinion, is that it isn't a socketable major minor. If Beetle was a major minor socketed troop, even if it was potentially a 3/3 socketable major minor troop with the same ability, as opposed to, it's a 4/4 right now, or is it a 5/5?
Beetle?
Yeah, I think it's a 5/5. Yeah, so if you cut an attack and a defense off and add a minor socket, which isn't necessarily a fair trade by any stretch of the imagination.
The thing is, like when I'm building decks, like you've got the option, but most of the time, the slot that Beetle would have gone into, for me anyway, is usually going to be the Root Father these days, because you pay the one more when you are playing it, but you'll get exactly what you've already said. In fact, a much more efficient body, and you'll also get both of the sockets. Whereas also if you're resource light, you can put him back into the deck. So early game it's better as well. If you just need resources, it's hard to justify when it's those two against each other. But if you had a deck where you wanted both of them together, that could still work out.
I agree with you completely in this meta game.
Right.
But with this wild deck existing, and with the anti-Gore Feast decks existing, it makes it a lot harder for Gore Feast to be a thing that is there. And obviously, that's like a pretty natural evolution for a metagame. Like the aggro fast decks come in, and then these mid range comes out to sort of like hold them back a bit, and then control comes out again. And I think that in that
and everyone
circumstance,
was mad about Gorefeast, but Gorefeast has to exist to evolve the meta.
right?
Like,
Yeah, that's true. But in a situation where like the mid range comes in and then control comes in to try and peg back the mid range, then you see, I think, people bring in the Battle Beetle in to deal with that matchup. Once that becomes a little bit more prevalent, that's why I think it's a little bit harder to deal with than the Root Father. Obviously, you can put the Root Father in there as well.
Sure.
But
So,
I think that that's going to be an
not
important card in the future.
Not to cut you off too much, but in the couple of seconds we were discussing Wild Troops, we did see the board states develop slightly. Solitary Exile slapping a Master Moss inside of it. Cirouss trying to pump up that Soul Marble and then eventually getting this Druze onto the board. And now on 2 health, he is facing down an Arborean Root Father and a Crazed Squirrel Titan. He has just enough resources to transform his Soul Marble into the Soul Armaments, which will negate the negative downside of his Drew's Colossal Walker. It will no longer have to exhaust to attack, and even though it must attack each turn, you can see Cirouss clicking on it ineffectually because that would have done nothing. The Colossal Walker must move forward. He will regain 10 health with Dim's Charge Power. This is actually a really big swing for him here because he's now taken away Kindmime's ability to swing, despite Kindmime having him on what was essentially lethal in any other scenario. Like, that was basically the only thing that could have saved Cirouss was having that Soul Marble complete that turn. He needed to have it on board and already halfway charged up. You can see on Kindmime's side of the board, he's holding a Master Moss and a Howling Brave. He now has more than enough to defend against the board state. But he plays it all out, potentially risking a lot more than just... Oh, wow. A lot more than just... Yeah, now... Cirouss could certainly make a big play here. I'm pretty sure it's available if he swings in.
So it's probably Heatwave pre-combat.
Heatwave pre-combat. Dimmed Charge Power.
Charge Power. Yep.
Expect
multiple blocks.
Yeah, but he's gonna get multi-blocked, but no matter what he does, if he doesn't double Heat Wave now, the Arborean Root Father is going to block with the Crazed Squirrel Titan. Now, this is where I said it negated the downside, but normally there's no downside for a 10-10 Crush Steadfast Spell Shield Troop swinging in. The downside here is that it must attack every turn. If Cirouss could hold back that he could just play the Angel and then start swinging with a 6/6 Steadfast Spell Shielded Angel. As it stands now, he has to find the best way with these double Heat Waves to get rid of what's on the board. It's very interesting, actually. I think if he double Heat Waves, the Master Moss can block for free. But then he clears everything else off the board. So I think you have to double Heat Wave and attack, because that forces the Arborean and the Master Moss to block. And then, yes, he gets to deal 2 damage, and yes, he gets to turn it back into a Master Moss, but then you follow that up next turn with the Angel, which can block against...
Which is bigger than the Master Moss. Yeah, you're probably right about that. That probably is... It does end up being better. Cirouss is still thinking about it, though.
Well, yeah, no, this is an important play to think about, because he could do it in multiple different ways. He also has to wonder, if I attack just right now, how is he going to block? Cirouss is choosing to just play the Angel, and he does put the life drain on the Drew's Colossal Walker, so he does recognize that must attack this turn.
I don't like that. I don't like playing the Angel pre-combat. So
yeah, no, I think that was probably the wrong play.
Because the opponent can see the Angel now and say, right, I'm not gonna block with my Root Father for sure now because I know that's the only thing that can get past that Angel. Um, if he'd just held back on the Angel, maybe he would have blocked with the Root Father to make sure this Druze goes down.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I said, the double heat wave pre-combat would have changed this block to being it would have had to have been Arborean and Master Moss if he wanted to get rid of Druze. Uh, Potential exists that he didn't want to get Druze out of the way, but I don't think that that's worth discussing. It's not the right topic here. So Cirouss choosing to remove the Crazy Squirrel Titan and the Scrap Tech Brawler instead of reducing the Master Moss down to a 2/2 there. Uh, an Eye of Creation. This entire time, I haven't mentioned it, but an Eye of Creation off the top would be insane for Kindmime here. I haven't seen what card he's drawn. Not exactly the best draw for him here.
I mean, I feel like any other way of doing that turn,
Yeah,
and he wouldn't have to worry about the Root Father. Like,
that's
literally
true.
any other
Right.
way.
Yeah, if he double heat waved, he could have single blocked with just the Arborean. I understand that, guys. He still only takes 5 damage next turn. I was talking about the blocks wrong, but I still think that the double heat wave was the correct play. The single block just made a block with the root father. Yeah, the single heat wave was not correct. Yeah.
So that's why he attacked with the Moss there, because it was going to turn back into
Yeah, with the
the big
reversion.
guy anyway.
Cirouss, with his last use of his charge power here, gets to swing in. You know, chat is very correct, and I wasn't explaining it out fully, but I did understand that the blocks would be different than what I was saying. So I recognized that very early after I said them, and it was just like, well, there's no point in correcting myself because it's still very similar play. So the Meek on the Howling Brave there, getting rid of the situation, I guess, entirely. There's a lot of damage coming in. Prevents the Eye of Creation. Just saw what Kindmime top decked. That Meek happened to be the most powerful Meek in Hex history. Obviously now just the Arborean Root Father is going to swing in. Cirouss won't block. He'll go to 12, which... I mean, Cirouss has to win quick now.
He's got 2 turns.
You can almost see the grin on Kindmime's face. I don't know if his face is available with both hands available, but on his stream I see it. He's just like, ha ha ha, that was a good draw. The Ruby Shard. The Ruby Shard helps here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, the Ruby Shard is not enough. That's game. Yeah, the heat waves kill the EG. I mean, but it would have been funny. The heat waves would only kill the EG, and Cirouss needed more than that anyway. Cirouss couldn't choose. Like, Cirouss didn't have the option of choosing to deal with Eternal Guardian and the rest of the board here. He had to develop his own board somehow. So now we wonder if Kindmime swings for lethal here. Well, Angel can chump, yes. Angel can chump. He can chump the Arborean and then top a Crackling Bolt. Crackling Bolt doesn't save him here.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything here.
He has no way to get health back. Yeah, the the running gear saved him here, and even if it wasn't,
So we're gonna see the Meeks come
Oh.
out most likely, and the Heat Waves come out. I would imagine.
yeah, looking at the reserves, that's got to be the case. Here comes that double heat wave.
Because why not?
Oh, I still had all these. That top deck angel, not good enough. In fact, I don't think there was a top deck. The finals are best of three. Gee.
Still had all these Eternal Guardians.
Still had all these Eternal Guardians. My goodness, how could I not type that correctly?
Those Root Fathers, man, not a joke. Root Father is not a joke.
No, Root Father is very powerful. Looks like since we get to see their reserves phase here, and they're not, neither of them are blocking their screen here. Zakir coming in on Cyrus's side of the board.
I would love to see that.
You know, there's been a lot of Zakirs played throughout this tournament. In case you haven't been keeping an eye on it, that's been very powerful.
Heat Waves and Meek going out.
Obviously, Zakir and Marble is the true dream.
Man, that is a good dream to live.
Mm-hmm. A little bit unfortunate that your Marble gets removed if you get the Void or non-Dragon cards, but you're probably okay once you use that card anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to lose your Marble, but you can also just choose to not, like, you can hold on to it until you need to use it, and if you need to use it, chances are you'll be fine anyway.
Tell you what I would really like if I was going to design a card, I would design a card that literally goes onto the board, it's just like a constant or something, and then every turn its cost increases by 1.
That's all it does?
That's all it does. The only reason it's there is to be comboed with like Transmogrifier and to make a ridiculous judgment play. Yeah, you just go, oh, this is 8 cost now, judgment. Oh, what was that?
That'd be pretty cool. I thought you said the other day you would design a Stream Sniper.
That would be my vanity card.
That'd be your vanity card. I think you said that would be your vanity card because you were being pretty salty that day, but. Oh man! So here we go. We get into game 2.
It's the 1 cost constant that increases in cost every time.
That'd be cool. We need potential for things that are like kind of bad like that, but potentially very good. Cyrus's opening hand unfolds for us. He's almost certainly going to toss that back. The first time I think I've seen him have to mulligan in all of these games. And then his 5 look bad. His 6 look bad. His 5 looks bad. He's had that angel in all 3 opening hands. Again, I would like to point out, if there are any Cryptozoic employees ever watching this, mulligans. I realize that it might have been a conscious decision for you guys to have mulligans work one side, then the other side, but mulligans absolutely need to be rotational in a trading card game like this one. Absolutely devastating to Cyrus to have to mull to 5 before Kindmime even makes a decision. Because Kindmime, despite having a fairly good opening hand, might have chose to throw that one back, but then after seeing your opponent mull to 5, there's no way you do. Yeah, should be back and forth. Absolutely should be back and forth. I have a lot of strong opinions in Hex, and not everyone agrees with most of them, but this one I think as a community we can stand together, we can raid Hex offices, we can go in there, we can throw the papers on Corey's table around a bit until he agrees with us.
Yeah, we can definitely all agree on this one. Yeah.
But
he won't have to fix that.
Nonviolent protest of sitting in his office?
Yeah, we'll just sit there and smoke. Incense. Not like any sort of harmful substance. We just smoke just incense. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Shosny. So Howling Brave early drop uh, by Kindmime there, quickly followed up by a burn by Cirouss. Kindmime has to understand that that is advantageous to him trading a card out of Cyrus's hand at this point for his one drop. Probably the best part of Howling Brave in this this
Ruby
Blood
Wild.
Wild deck, yeah, Ruby Wild, is
We
that
got there.
you're trading one drops for removal. There's nothing better than that. That's why Ancestors Chosen is so powerful as well. It's like if Ancestors Chosen stays on the board, it provides a potentially very powerful effect, or it trades for removal.
So funny enough, it looks like Kindmime did end up keeping a risky hand because he saw how low that Cyrus had to go, but it might possibly end up backfiring on him here. Looks
I
like
don't
he
know.
needed to have all those Braves stick around to play anything.
All those Braves? Wasn't it just the one?
Well, he's had two that had been burned off.
Okay.
Now we have Living Totem versus Tunnel Troop, which we're sure is Scrap Tech Brawler.
That just looks so rough, man. Just sat there, your opponent's barely played anything, you just got 2 cards in your hand. Luckily, the card on board is a living totem, so there is
He
some.
can invest those resources pretty heavily. Betty wishes he had that alternate art living totem down, though. You'd want to invest in that, I feel.
Well, the thing is, even if Kindmime doesn't hit another one, probably the best thing he could play this next turn would be Filcape at this point.
Yeah.
Just revert the Living Totem.
Oh yeah, that Phil Cape sitting in Kindmine's hand. Be nice if he had a way to play all 3 Master Moss at once. That'd be neat. Very sadly, picking up a Ruby shard there. I believe he used his only dual shard for Ruby, right? So
I think so, yeah.
if he had used it for a while, I bet he would regret that now. Losing his chance to play a turn 5 Zakir. Yeah, just alternating mulligans would be fine. We don't need to adjust how mulligans work. One free mulligan is not a decision that I would agree with. So there's that Filcape. Poor little living totem. Not so good anymore. Also means that Cyrus can only turn his soul marble into soul armaments. Because if he turns it into the soul cavalry, it will in fact revert back to a regular soul marble.
Yep. Ooh. Kindmime does decide to attack in with the Filcape, and Cyrus does have the repel for it here.
Not only is that very strong for him here, well, I mean, Cyrus could choose. He probably won't. He could have chosen to trade there. But with Kindmime still stuck at 3 resources and none in hand, those Master Mosses are dead. That being said, 1 resource, and Kindmime's back in this game.
Back in, kind of.
Right.
Like,
Because
Master Moss is all fun and good, but Tome could definitely outpace a Master Moss.
he can get the flight to just fly over it. Kindmime's at 13. It's still not looking great.
Not a Phil Cape, however. That would hurt.
Yeah, another Filcape would be pretty huge.
Yeah. I see the swing. Kindmime going down to 11, while Cyrus still at a healthy 20. That could change incredibly quickly in this kind of deck. With that Eye of Creation sitting in Kindmime's hand, do you think there's ever a possibility he just does a 1 or a 2-er?
Oh yeah, always do it for 1 and you'll get a Wrathwood Colossus every time.
That's not accurate, but it could be. He is doing it here. No, he's not. Something else left his hand. I thought it was the Eye of Creation. It's a little hard for me to see his hand because it's cut off at the bottom.
I think it is a fact. Every time you play I for 1, your top card's always going to be that Wrathwood. And then you're going to draw it, and you're only on, like, 4. So, you know, who looks like an idiot then? So did I miss something there? Okay, he put the counters on marble. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just put the counters on. Cyrus considering his options because he's got several plays he could make here.
Yeah, he's got to wonder. Essentially, what he's got to wonder is, does he play out the Angel or does he protect his investment in Soul Marble? The quicker he plays out Soul Marble, which delays his Angel by probably 2 turns here, the better things go for him. Also choosing to get a little extra damage through with his Living Totem there. Well, no,
I think
to
marble
beat
is the right
block.
call.
Yeah, I mean, you put 2 more resources in here, and then next turn you can pay 4, and it... I don't know. I think I would have probably held the Living Totem back there, just so I could have played something else. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's a rough decision, and what we do see on Kindmime's side of the table is that Wrathwood Master Moss hitting the board. That's a big threat, kind of. Not so much for the fully invested Living Totem.
Mm-hmm. I think that, like, you've got to be thinking there are more Fill Capes in this deck, and Marble's really the only thing that
Protects
can't be reverted by a Fill Cape. Like, it just straight up gives everything +2/+2 steadfast spell shield. So, I mean, I think that's pretty important to get online before he does anything else. Just so he has the board presence to say, like, if you attack, you're going to take some horrible things back, kind of thing. Because at any point he can just give flight to this totem and continue to swing it. He doesn't need to invest any into it to give it steadfast because it's already going to get that. He can happily take the 5 if Kindmime chooses to attack and just keep plugging back. He can give it life drain too.
Yeah, I think you might. Yeah, you definitely play the other Living Totem here. No reason to hold Repel up.
So the only downside here is Kindmime actually has the Gobbleglade Witches as well, which would be something he could also eye for, potentially.
Yeah, the Gobbleglade Witch, often overlooked in draft, is a very powerful competitive card against the Soul Marble. That being said, the Eye of Creation resolves for 2 and shows 2 non-troop cards, one of them a Chlorophylla. Does nothing for the board here. So that Wrathwood Master Moss isn't going to swing in, and having only drawn another Soul Marble here, not a Shard like I'm sure he would have wanted, Cirouss is going to be forced, unfortunately, to give both of his totems flight and swing with them. I think I would have swung with the 5/5 before giving it flight. Given him the option of blocking, maybe giving it life drain. But in Cyrus, no, I wouldn't have done that.
No, you just go ahead.
That would have been silly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just fix him here.
Yeah. Essentially, Kindmime needs to hit something big now. A Fill Cape actually not terrible for him. No, he'd still lose on a Fill Cape.
Yeah, he'd still lose to Fill Cape. He would need, like, Eternal Guardian here, possibly.
Yeah.
But not in the cards this time, so...
That's Scrap Tech, though.
Yeah, that's Scrap Tech. So, they will go to the finals. Once again, just to remind everyone watching, Cirouss has already technically won this tournament. Kindmime is giving the win to Cirouss, and then they're going to chop the prizes up accordingly, but they're playing for pride here, which is important. Cirouss, looking at his reserves, maybe deciding nothing here is really worth it. You know, they've already made their reserves changes, and they don't really have anything with regards to going first and second, because obviously Kindmime will be going first this game. He doesn't have any cards that he plays, especially because he's going first.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that changes here. I mean, he's pointing out the Army of the Arcane Sender, but that really only does anything if it's in chump blocking Arborean Rootfather mode, or chump blocking on Wrathwood Master Moss
Well, yeah.
mode.
Well, but the Cinders have to attack, So they're actually really bad in that situation. Like,
Yeah,
that's the
yep.
situation they're the worst in, is when you're playing against late game wild troops that just block them.
Well,
And
when else are you going to be trading in this matchup? Because like the troops on
exactly.
Cyrus's side are so much smaller than what Kindmine has. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a card that you would want.
So the opening hands here, Cirouss once again getting a little bit brutalized by his opening hand. No diamonds available. We've seen him keep hands with no ruby, but no diamond is a very different situation. There's 4 angels sitting in that deck. And did Cirouss choose to go first here, or has Kindmime already kept his hand?
I actually missed that.
Cirouss keeps. Yeah, it looks like Kindmime already kept his hand here. The Wild Shard coming down, followed by the Howling Brave. Actually, kind of an explosive hand here. Looking at Kindmime, it's going to be turn 2 Ruby into Chlorophylia into Howling Brave, meaning he'll have 5 resources available on turn 3. Cirouss drawing the Singleton Shard of Fate and putting
The
it down onto the
Singleton
board.
Shard of Fate saves the day over the Ruby this time.
Lucky, lucky that was sitting on the top of the deck instead of, I don't know, an angel,
An angel.
or one of the other 30 cards in the deck that weren't playable here. Another Howling Brave on the board, like we said. Obviously, it was Chlorophylia into Howling Brave here. 5 resources available now, possibly 6, and that top deck, Filcape, might just hit the board and be upsetting. Although Cirouss is going to use a Crackling Bolt right off the bat to get rid of one of those Howling Braves. He does not want to see Kindmime with the ability to use more resources than he normally has available of. What do I think of Shards of Fate? I think it would have still been better as a diamond, Kappa. Wow. Had he kept that Howling Brave, do you think you play the Filcape or
Yeah,
a 2 eye? An eye for 2 now that he's got 2.
yeah, I think you'd still go ahead and run the Filcape out there if that's what you have.
So Cirouss, not afraid of what's on the board, probably going to put down a Soul Marble here and start pumping it up. Board state continuing to be developed.
Man, you always have to be happy when you see Howling Brave attacking for 1. Like if that happens, usually something has gone wrong for the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, because this especially means that Kindmime isn't going to be playing a Master Moss, which is very threatening for Cirouss here. Cirouss, on the other hand, keeping his curve strong, drawing another shard here now, also has access to 2 very powerful boxes in the middle of a desert. You know, you start to get to the point where does Cirouss, with his very risky keep, have answers versus Kindmime's very reasonable keep?
I'll tell you what, I can't believe that
He did an eye for 2?
No.
Or 1?
I think that someone playing Wild, this Wild Ruby beatdown deck, like, where's the Winds of Change, man? You know you're going to be seeing these marbles and exiles at least once during the day.
Well,
That's what the Gobbleglade Witch spot is, because it's the
it's a
by the
troop
way,
that does
it happens
kind
to
of
be
the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think if like the 2-packed deck was still more popular, like in this tournament meta, people were afraid of Gore Feast. So you expected to see some Soul Marbles, but not many Pact of Pain style decks.
I
So,
feel like the threat of Pact being there alone
but what
is
if you run into
reason.
Hacky's deck? Yeah. Yeah. But what if you run into Hacky's deck where you could have killed off multiple Infernos, Pact of Pains, and Heart of Fires with you?
Well, no one saw that coming.
Yeah,
But
no, not even Hacky who made
Not
the
even
deck.
I
Hacky.
just
Like
like
40
Pact
minutes
got
left to go.
stronger too, right? With
Yeah.
Sight of the Sun. Like I would
Oh,
slam dunk
and
that card in my side in my reserves.
got stronger with Sight of the Sun and with the Guardian Angel, because you will draw health from your Pact of Pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we're going to see the Eye of Creation here, exhausting that. Yeah, plays the Chlorophylla, exhausts his Howling Brave, plays Eye of Creation for 3, finds 2 Shards of Savagery and a Wild Shard. Even if those were Shards of Fate, they wouldn't help him here. Those do not go onto the board or into play. Did the original Eye of Creation put Shards into play that it found?
The original Eye of Creation played everything, actions.
Yeah.
And it copied the Eye of Creation and played it again for the original cost if you got an Eye of Creation. Then the second iteration played Shards and Troops, I believe.
That's
Which
right.
would have
And then we got the version we got
It
now.
didn't matter on what the X was. Like, it would just play them no matter what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Eye of Creation has changed multiple times throughout Hex history. Not since the game has gone live. They will not change cards that go live. That's just something that us old fuddy-duddies, the three of us sitting up here talking, kind of remember.
So, Soul Marble changed to Soul Armaments, guys?
Yeah, it sure did. We saw that.
We have a Steadfast Drew that got Life Drain for 10.
Mm-hmm.
Kindmime's going to fire off another Eye of Creation, hoping to find another answer. Or find a answer. But Wrathwood Mastermoss is not quite good enough here. Yeah, especially looking at Cyrus's hand. Looks like Cyrus is pretty heavily favored at this point.
I hope we see more of these Wrathwood cards, man. They're all bonkers.
I think we need a little one.
A little
We need
one.
we need like a crappy Wrathwood. You know, there's crappy Darkspire. We need like a Wrathwood filigree. I don't know. Some like two
Would
some
having a
2/2
Mossling be broken?
a Moss Wing.
No, a Mossling, like you know the
Mossling.
thing that.
Oh yeah. No, that would be
Just having the
that'd be
Mossling broken. I don't know.
you see the
man.
Solitary Exile eating that Wrathwood Master Moss because even a Mossling would be too strong for Cyrus to deal with here. That 10-10 Steadfast, Drew's Walker swinging in, leaving Kindmime on 5. With just Wrathwood and Philcape in hand, I do not see an answer for him here.
Then the nature reigns.
Little surprised he didn't go ahead and play the totem out there.
Probably didn't feel the need to, I guess. I'm not sure. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a reason to. This Arborean Rootfather comes into play, deals 8 damage, has speed, but isn't going to swing.
Yeah, like the Rootfather's the best one, and even that can't swing into this board here.
You need one of those battle beetles with spell shield.
Yeah.
There you go. And just get run over by the Drew's Walker.
Speaking of which, there's game. So, despite the fact that the players determined the winner pre-combat, this is still Cyrus's game. He wins this for pride. That's a pretty good game, all in all. I think Cyrus's risky keep paid off, but it paid off in spades when he found another diamond and then the Solitary Exiles and then 2 diamonds. You know, he never hurt for those shards. He kept a 1 threshold hand and found the other threshold immediately.
Yep.
Incredible card.
And even though I know it's gotten lots of hate, like the Shards of Fate, I think we saw him get Ruby the first time and Diamond the second time. So.
It clearly did him some work. I mean, I don't like the card personally, but it doesn't mean it's not capable of doing some things. So that's the end of the tournament. Do we have the final tournament bracket up on the board, Tech?
One moment.
You know, funny enough, I know we were also talking about the mulligan rule, but I think that kind of backfired on Kindmime. I think he got lured into keeping a hand in that second game that maybe was a little bit weaker than it should have been.
I don't know. I think he had 2 Braves, right? So I think it was keepable.
Yeah, I mean, if those Braves had got to sit on the board, he could have Eye of Creation very early, and while those Eye of Creations, like we saw, wouldn't have paid off, you still kind of have to take that chance with his deck. Statistically, if he hits 2, even, or 2 isn't great.
The shards he's supposed to. Yeah, that's fair.
2 isn't great. 3 is amazing, right? So there we go. Technophy has put up for you guys the Ruby Cup Finals. Thank you once again to Rise of the Dead Prince for sponsoring this event. The prizes going out here are insane. Cirouss and all of the prizes should be out by now. Cirouss and Kindmime making over 100 packs in their finals match. Tonkill and Hexed Havoc pulling in the 3rd and 4th place. Well, Strife, Seiju, Kaldheim, and Guer made it to the finals, and they will still receive some pretty awesome prizes here. A lot of players will receive prizes. There were people with the door prizes. There was the top 32 got paid out. It was certainly worth their event. So once again, don't forget to check out that sponsor link.